Join me as I dig deep and try to uncover the shocking truth behind Macron's imminent impeachment. The topic of Macron's potential impeachment has been making headlines in the French media, and it's about time we take a closer look at what's going on. This isn't just a minor political squabble. We're talking about the potential removal of a head of state, and that has significant implications for the future of France. As viewers, you're probably wondering what's at stake and why this matters to you. Well, let me tell you, the impact of Macron's impeachment would be felt far beyond the borders of France, and it's crucial that we understand the context behind these developments. The fact is, Macron's presidency has been plagued by controversy from the very start. From allegations of elitism to accusations of being out of touch with the common man, the president has been facing an uphill battle to win over the hearts and minds of the French people. And let's not forget the infamous Yellow Vest protests, which brought the country to a standstill and left deep scars on the nation's psyche. So it's no surprise that calls for Macron's impeachment have been growing louder by the day. The key issue here is that Macron's leadership style has been perceived as authoritarian and disconnected from the needs of the people. His response to the Yellow Vest protests, for instance, was seen as heavy-handed and insensitive, which only fueled the flames of resentment. Furthermore, his perceived closeness to the corporate elite has led to accusations of cronyism and nepotism, eroding trust in his government. And then there are the economic woes, the stagnating economy, the rising cost of living, and the growing sense of insecurity among the French people. Macron's critics argue that he's been more interested in pushing through his own reforms than in listening to the concerns of the people. His pension reform, for instance, has been widely criticized as an attack on the French way of life. And let's not forget the disastrous handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has left many feeling abandoned and disillusioned. So it's no wonder that the French people are starting to lose faith in their leader. Public dissatisfaction with Macron's presidency has been building for years, and it's not just the extremist factions that are calling for his head. Ordinary citizens, students, workers, people from all walks of life are saying that they've had enough of his rule. They're tired of the broken promises, the lack of transparency, and the sense of disdain that comes from the Élysée Palace. The French people are saying that enough is enough. It's time for a change, and they're not afraid to take to the streets to demand it. The question is, will Macron be able to weather the storm, or will he become the first French president to be impeached in modern history? The controversies surrounding Macron's presidency are complex and multifaceted, and it's impossible to understand them without examining the social, economic, and political factors at play. France is a country with a rich history and a strong sense of national identity, but it's also a country in crisis. The economic stagnation, the rise of nationalism, and the decline of the European project have all contributed to a sense of uncertainty and fear among the French people. Macron's presidency has been marked by a series of missteps and miscalculations, from the handling of the Yellow Vest protests to the tone-deaf response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And let's not forget the notorious Benalla affair, which raised serious questions about the president's judgment and integrity. The fact is, Macron's leadership style has been autocratic and secretive, and that has bred mistrust and resentment among the French people. The social and economic context of France is also crucial in understanding the current situation. The decline of the manufacturing industry, the rise of inequality, and the erosion of the welfare state have all contributed to a sense of disillusionment and despair among the working class. Macron's policies, such as the abolition of the wealth tax, have been seen as benefiting the rich at the expense of the poor, and that has only exacerbated the sense of injustice. The political landscape of France is also shifting dramatically, with the rise of the far right and the decline of the traditional left. Macron's presidency has been marked by a series of electoral defeats, and his party, La République En Marche, is struggling to maintain its grip on power. The fact is, Macron's politics are no longer seen as the future of France, but as a relic of the past. The critical moment that escalated the impeachment discussions was the recent protests in Paris, which saw hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets to demand Macron's resignation. The protests were marked by violence and chaos, and they left many wondering if France was on the brink of chaos. The fact is, The situation in France is volatile and unpredictable, and it's impossible to know what will happen next. The next few weeks will be crucial in determining the fate of Macron's presidency, and the implications are far-reaching. If Macron is impeached, it will be a seismic shift in French politics, and it will have far-reaching consequences for the European project as a whole. The fact is, Macron's presidency is hanging by a thread, and it's up to the French people to decide what happens next. In conclusion, the potential impeachment of Macron is a complex and multifaceted issue, and it's impossible to understand it without examining the social, economic, and political factors at play. The implications are far-reaching, and they will be felt for years to come. As we move forward, it's crucial that we continue to have an open and honest conversation about the future of France and the European project as a whole. So what do you think about Macron's presidency and the calls for his impeachment? Do you think he's done enough to justify his removal, or do you think he deserves another chance? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my other videos for more in-depth analysis and insights.